Big Reed here. Today we review a pale ale and discuss celebration of life playlists. Good to see you, Crow Hill.
Hey, Big Reed,
What'd you order for us?
Well, I was talking to Chesterton about some more local beers, and he brought us this Country Ride Pale Ale from RAR, which is just across the bay,
right
on the other side there. And it's a 5.4% alcohol pale ale. So that's what we're going to look at. Welcome to Beer and Conversation, everybody. This is where we look at a different beer and discuss what we think about it. But what's on your mind today?
Well, there are less formal funerals are on the decline.
Yeah.
And this celebration of life thing is more of a thing. And I was at
one recently, and they had some songs that they were playing, and it kind of made me wonder what songs would I want to play.
Who chose these songs? Did somebody choose them on their behalf, or did
they choose them?
Or did they? Yeah. So that's a good. It's like maybe I should be in control.
Yeah, maybe we should leave a list for our kids.
I should. You've got to.
Okay, when I keel over, these are the songs I want you to play.
You've got to fill out the whole, all of this information about where you're a will and all of the. You buy a cemetery plot.
Yeah, why shouldn't it be right there in your documents?
Right. Yeah. I might even decide what's on the menu.
Exactly. Everybody's gonna have to eat. That's what I.
Anyway, let's see what Chesterton brought us.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay. So this is RAR Country Ride Pale Ale, 5.4%, and Pale Ale is a nice beer. It's not as hoppy, not as strong as an IPA, which is very popular these days. But
so this is Eastern Shore, and 5.4 seems about right. We've got good hops.
It does have a good hops. It's a little bit cloudy, touch cloudy there, and good hop flavor. But it's basically it just tastes like a toned down IPA. Yeah, in a lot of ways. I like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's not a face melter, but it's not supposed to be.
No, it's not supposed to be. So keep them coming. There's that bridge. You can ship them over here. So,
no,
that's right. Hey, what happened to Longinus anyway?
He went to the bathroom.
Oh, all right, okay.
Oh, here.
Okay. Here he comes.
Chesterton, I'll take one more, please.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Longinus. Thanks for getting back in here. So we were thinking we'd talk about this kind of morbid, actually, but. If you were to have a celebration of life, what songs would you want to play?
But isn't it, making out a will is more buying a cemetery plot?
Yeah.
Or how about this? Making it not morbid would be, let's say, which probably will happen. Somebody wants to make a movie, The Life and Times of Crow Hill.
Right. Yeah.
But they say.
I've been approached about the rights for that.
I want your help in creating the soundtrack of your life, which sounds less morbid.
It does sound like there you go. I like that better.
Go with soundtrack of your life.
Soundtrack.
Yes. The soundtrack of my life would sound like this. And I know in mine, there's none of the meanings of the songs or the lyrics that I pay any attention to. It was just like, what music was I into at the very stages of my life. It's kind of how I thought about it.
And the other thing I thought about too was who was going to be at my funeral.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what songs could I play that they would have to hear? So
I got a little of that too.
Message.
Do you? Yes. Right. Go ahead. I'll go last.
All right, so why don't you start, Longinus? What do you got? How did you divide it?
Well, the whole thing is this is, after reading Juan Rulfo's book, I did not have anything linear or chronological. I just had sort of like subheadings.
Yes, okay.
And through that. So the one thing I wanted to do is just capture sort of the jazz songs, which are absolutely perennial to me.
Okay, so you had a jazz has been part of your life,
and these are the ones I still listen to and are incredible. John Coltrane's "Love Supreme."
Okay,
I've listened to it 1,000 times, and I could listen to it another 1,000 times and not comprehend 25% of it. It is incredible the way that it's put together. Chick Corea, The Return of the Forever.
I saw Chick Corea.
Oh, yeah.
At the Wax Museum in D.C. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the one I picked was Some Time Ago, La Fiesta, which is sort of the Spain song.
Okay, yeah.
And he does that. All Blues, or anything from the Kind of Blue album by Miles Davis. That's probably one of the most popular albums. And A Song of Loving Kindness by Gary Bartz.
Okay. Yep.
And then, so I started that. So that's sort of the perennial. That goes throughout everything, right? All right. In the beginning.
Okay.
This is what I was like in, and I'm in the beginning is 4th, 5th grade, hanging out with Keong Owens. He is he comes from South Korea. His mother's Korean. His stepfather's black, and they live in the black part of town, which was walking distance to where I lived, and he was my entryway into sort of the black 70s culture.
Okay.
Even though he was a Korean guy.
Yep. Even though he was Korean.
Really
That's great.
And his cousin Scotty was there too. So Boogie Nights by Heatwave.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
And September by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, that as a trumpet player, that was always
right. You can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Now Brick House by the Commodores.
Sure.
Now the thing about Brick House is I remember like in 5th grade listening to it and tapping my foot and loving it, and then listening to the lyrics. I'm trying to figure out what the heck are they talking
celebrating
about.
a brick house.
Yeah.
And then it just bowls me over, and I got to sit down, and that just opened my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, this was also the time you start seeing the Farrah Fawcett major posters.
Yes. Ladies are getting your attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got to say, there was a time when I thought that Staying Alive, the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was the greatest.
I used to really not like that style of music until just a little while ago. Mrs. Crowhill and I have started dancing, and it's good music to dance to.
All right.
I never really liked to listen to it, but it's good music to dance to. All right, keep going.
Classic rock. This is the junior high school days. You get in there, right? And Rush was a big thing. I mean, that's when I first met Arthur, one of my lifelong friends.
Right.
And he turned me on to it. But, Rush, Red Barchetta, Lakeside Park, Closer to the Heart, Spirit of the Radio, Subdivisions, The Trees. You could name 100 of those songs.
How long is your party going to be, by the way? I'm just wondering.
Hopefully they're not going to be around there. Hopefully they're not in and out in 20 minutes.
It's going to be at least an hour.
It's going to be a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
An hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Plenty of beer flowing. And,
there we go.
Yeah, good menu.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Of course, we'll put it on continuous play. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jimi Hendrix, Wait Until Tomorrow, Little Wing, Third Stone from the Sun, Crosstown Traffic. That's because I used to play that in the rock band down at St. Mary's.
Okay, right.
Castles Made of Sand, Are You Experienced?
Now you're a drummer, right?
Yeah. The Who. Mm-hmm. If you're a drummer, you gotta love the Who because it's Keith Moon is the greatest. Magic Bus, Bob O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes, My Generation, Going Mobile, Pinball Wizard, and those were all the ones with Keith Moon.
Okay.
I liked what they were doing afterwards.
Right.
Led Zeppelin, Good Times, Bad Times, Going to California, Ramble On, Fool in the Rain. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great song. Allman Brothers, Blue Sky, Jessica, Ramblin' Man. Here's the one-off. Sugar Mountain. That's Awesome by Neil Young, of course. Right. For What It's Worth, Buffalo Springfield, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, Bad Moon Rising.
There's a bathroom on the right. That's
right.
Misheard lyric on that one.
Yeah. Right. Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
Ventura Highway by America. I love that. Spanish Moon, Dixie Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I get to college.
Okay.
Everything sort of changes.
Right.
I'm like blown away by just a whole new genre. And I first hit the Smiths, of course, the Smiths. And it's like anything from the Smiths. Especially, the first 3 albums. After The Queen is Dead, I start to, go off a little bit. Ladder and Bombs I got, and I knew a lot. But after that, I didn't listen to them as much. That Joke Is a Funny More is a great one. Rush Home Ruffians. Ask, Accept Yourself. Prefab Sprout, you can't do college without Prefab. And I don't know if you guys know the first album by Amitri. No. It's the only album I've ever heard by Amitri.
Okay.
And it's very, very different from their post album.
Is that a band name or a dude?
That's a band name.
Okay.
And Heard Through the Wall, Former Owner, Hammering Heart, everything from that first album is great. And then I discovered Bruce Cockburn.
Okay. Ah, okay. Interesting. Good call.
After the Rain, Where the Lions Are, Making Contact, World of Wonders. I can also say I found Gil Scott-Heron, too. And, with his Revolution Will Not Be Televised.
You're going to play that at your... Do we have to hear that at your thing? I mean, hopefully I'll be there and you're not at mine. Well, if I'm there and I hear Gil Scott, I'm like, I get it, but really?
I might play a couple of, I request a couple of Gil Scotts, but not Revolution Will Not Be Televised.
Okay.
But because if Tom Vanderman comes to my funeral, you betcha I'm playing If I Had a Rocket Launcher.
There you go.
Because he hates that one more than anything.
All right. Well, you're right. So you'll have to leave the keys to that one and with somebody else going, if Tom shows up.
Right.
Play this one.
Steely Dan, I had a huge Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Black Cow, Peg, Home and Last, anything for them. Later Life, I think Ryan Bingham's Where He Kind, Dylan's Hard Rain, you go with a lot of that stuff. Hayes, and I finish off with Hayes Carl, even though he kept on going.
Very good.
It's a Shame, Bad Liver, Broken Heart, which I think is, I love Tom Waits. I don't even have any Tom Waits on here.
Oh, wow. All right, go ahead and put some Tom Waits on it.
So, and that's right. I would put Tom Waits in the college category, and I would say Small Change.
Yeah.
I'd go straight to Small Change.
Good. Very
all right.
Good.
So that's
all right. Okay. Well, we're all here. We're lined up to drink some beer, some home brew that you brewed with your dying breath.
That's right.
And
probably what I would be doing.
And some borscht.
Yes.
You.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so I took a different approach. I kind of divided my life into several phases.
Yeah, me too.
And I didn't go into anywhere near the depth that you did there, Lon Jennings. That was a great list. I love all those suggestions there.
Okay, I'm willing to go. Are you going to Lon Jennings' celebration?
Yeah, I'm going, but I hope it's when I'm 145. So in my youth, one of the songs that I really loved was 10 Feet Off the Ground by Louis Armstrong.
Awesome.
What?
And I had this record player and this album that had all these Disney songs and so on. And this was 10 Feet Off the Ground is Louis Armstrong singing and playing trumpet. And I think it was a big influence on me as a kid.
Okay.
So that was important to me. But then the other song that was probably the most important song in my youth was Spanish Flea by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
There you go, yeah.
That was the first trumpet solo I played by myself. And it was just me and a drummer. And
that's great.
And my elementary school band instructor put me up to this. He heard me playing this song and said, you got to play that in a concert.
Right.
It so happened that my grandmother was there at that concert, and she never let me forget that for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, she said...
What a treat it was for her to be there for it?
Yeah, to hear me playing that song.
Right,
that was really something.
Now, what was the one where the woman's on the cover and covered in
whipped cream?
Whipped cream.
Yeah, I think the album is called Whipped Cream.
Oh, boy.
That
had a big influence on my childhood.
That was an important one. But so now let me tell you a funny story about when I was practicing to play Spanish Flea. I think that was on the Lonely Bull album. I'm not positive, but it shows Herb Alpert sitting in a chair. He's got his trumpet in his hand. Next to him, he's got a flask and a salt shaker and a lemon. Okay.
All right.
Now, obviously, he's drinking tequila because the way you drink tequila.
But you didn't know that.
I didn't know that when I'm 12 or something. Yeah. So, I think the way you drink tequila is you take the lemon and you put it on your wrist and you put some salt on there and you lick that and you drink the tequila, right? But I didn't know any of that.
No.
I thought that biting on the lemon somehow helped him pucker for playing the trumpet.
So you read into it completely different.
Completely wrong. I'm in there practicing my trumpet for playing the song.
And you have lemon slices.
Have lemons. Have lemons. And I'm sure my family's laughing at me. All right.
That's great.
So then let's move along to young adult, high school swim team, that sort of era.
Yeah.
And I sort of tried to think of what would be the theme that I was trying to get across. And the theme, I think looking back, the theme of that time in my life was arrogance, trumpet playing, and going my own way. And I think probably the songs that would typify that were anything by Maynard Ferguson. Give It One is the one I would pick if I was going to pick one song. But I listened to a lot of Maynard Ferguson, just this, Tower of Power, like power brass, in your face, aggressive.
Yeah, put a couple of those in there.
Yeah. All right. So then college, I think the theme I was going through here was like agony and struggle. College is a difficult time for me. I've always had this duality in my life between kind of the redneck troublemaker, dirty, get in trouble side, and the law and order,
intellectual,
spiritual reality. That's always been like this conflict in my life. So I would pick for that time Jethro Tull, which has been a lifelong favorite of mine. I might pick like Mother Goose or Up to Me or some Jethro Tull song that kind of expresses the ambiguity, moral ambiguity. That I picked that, but then I'd also pick on the other side some evangelical Christian songs like Keith Green, "Make My Life a Prayer to You," or John Michael Talbot.
That was a portion of your life. That's important in your list.
That's right. Yeah. That was a big part. So then the next section I have here is marriage and kids. And my first theme here is just kind of joyful responsibility. Here I've got these. In the sense, you've got a burden, you've got these kids you're taking care of, but it's a joyful burden. It's something you like. So, two songs I came up with for that are Front Porch Looking In and God is Great, Beer is Good, and People Are Crazy.
Nice.
So that's kind of a picture of my attitude towards marriage and kids. But then there's also, it occurred to me, just sort of the fun and silly aspect of having kids. And for that, I picked The Fox by Nickel Creek. Which is
Nickel Creek. I can't think of the Fox, but
okay. Fox went out on a chilling night, prayed for the moon to give him light. It's a classic bluegrass song, and also just kind of tied into that. I kind of have recently been much more interested in bluegrass, Brothers Comatose, and some other other bluegrassy kind of music that's been important to me. I kind of went through a country phase for a little while and liked a lot of country music, but I think I like
maybe an Alan Jackson.
Alan Jackson in there. Yeah, throw some Alan Jackson in there, something like that. Okay, so then I get to now, a little past middle age, but middle age, and one of them is Caliandra Shade by Ian Anderson, the singer from Jethro Tull, and it's kind of a picture of casually drinking coffee and watching the world go by.
Okay.
So I kind of like that. I like Dust in the Wind by Kansas, but it's kind of like, what the hell is going on? Like sort of I don't understand all this. Everything is meaningless. But then I also thought of just my enduring relationship with Mrs. Crowhill, and I picked two songs for that. "Grow Old with Me" by Sonny Sweeney, which is a beautiful song. It doesn't quite exactly fit the two of us, but it's a very lovely thought. And then "Beautiful" by Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah.
So right. So that's it. I have a shorter list than Yolangitis, but I tried to break it down and sequentially and different.
Nice. So I did mine sort of what was not any particular meaningfulness of any of the songs, but just what I was into at the time, what represents me at the time. And so I was post Beatles. Okay. So by the time I was listening to music, the Beatles were done and kind of old hat, really. Yeah. But Paul McCartney was around, and my first, and I got a cassette tape. So I would go with Band on the Run.
Okay.
Then my other, like the first things that I owned as my own, because I had two older brothers, so their music was always around. But like the times that I had my own and my own cassette player, I had BTO, maybe Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. When I finally got enough, made a few dollars to buy my own records, the first couple of records I bought was George Thorogood, Move It On Over, and Queen, News of the World. But I'm not playing We Will Rock You at my...
No.
At my, nobody needs to hear that my... So it'll be something else.
Bottom girls, you would.
maybe I would. Now, influence from my brother he was already into Elton John.
Right.
So, some Elton John.
Yep.
Rod Stewart, Maggie May would be kind of, I was into it.
Lovely. The thing about Maggie May, the absolutely lovely guitar in the beginning of that song. It's really nice.
Another one, early purchase of my own was Eric Clapton's Slow Hand. Yeah. Now, there were two guys who I did not share with anybody else in my high school that I was listening to on my own through my brothers was Randy Newman and Tom Waits.
Oh, okay.
So that was like my own private away from, I didn't even let people know in high school that I was into these guys, but I was. So, like you mentioned, you mentioned your Tom Waits over there. Elvis Costello, and now I'm kind of moving into the little bit of new waviness. Yeah. Right. Allison was good. Now I had a punk phase, but I do have written down here. There's no need for the Sex Pistols or the Dead Kennedys to be played at my Okay. So I want to acknowledge that it went on, but it doesn't.
We're not going to remember.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody needs to hear that during.
Okay.
But maybe one Clash tune. I could find a mellow Clash tune.
There you go.
And then in high school, I was also like The Who and Bruce Springsteen.
Sure.
Maybe Sandy or something. Or, and not Teenage Wasteland. I mean, come on, let's tone it down a little bit here. Right. I don't want it to be somber, but don't want to rock too hard. Then out of high school, then Lloyd Cole was very big to me, and as Longinus mentioned, and we lived across the hall from each other in college. Smiths and Prefab Sprout.
Okay.
But you might also remember Iggy Pop and Lou Reed. Yeah. We were doing a lot of Iggy Pop and Lou Reed on that hall. Yeah. So maybe The Passenger. Who Loves the Sun I have down here, which is actually Velvet Underground, but that's where Lou Reed was. Then, as it happens when you get out of college and you move on with life, I listened to all the stuff that I previously mentioned for about the next 10 years. Wow. I don't remember having any new interests for a long period.
Supposedly, it's very common for people to establish their musical interests.
Lock it down.
In like high school and early college, and that's what they listen to for the rest of their life. And one of the things I'm very happy about is that's not true with me. I've listened to a lot of different.
I talked to my sister who has a friend who I also went to like junior high school with. She's like, it's still, they'll go over there for a children's birthday party, and it's like 90s hair bands. Still, over and over, like Quiet Riot.
Haven't you thought of? I'm fine to listen to that, but haven't you thought of something else to listen to? For heaven's sake!
So let me give a nod to my meeting my Mexican wife and moving to Mexico. Jose Alfredo Jimenez is kind of like. He's like your parents' generation, but you know all the words. Okay. So it's like Frank Sinatra, I would call him. So late in the evening, if any, so it would be Jose. And then one mariachi tune, and one of the most famous ones is Guadalajara, sung by which was famously done by Elvis Presley. I mean, he does a very good job of this, and that's one mariachi tune. Then when I came back from Mexico, and I didn't have any money. Not much of anything. My dad gave me a pickup truck.
Ford Ranger.
Purple Ford Ranger.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I was like, you know what? Sort of like, it's like a joke between me and myself. I said, well, if you're driving a
pickup truck, you gotta listen to country music.
So I started listening to radio country music. So they were talking like late 90s, early 2000s.
And that's when it was good.
And it was Kenny Chesney and Toby Keith.
And Alan Jackson.
And so I became a bit of a country music fan, even though I was playing a joke on myself and kind of liked it. Yeah. Then I've actually got a car that came with Sirius Radio. And I listened to mostly outlaw country. And it was revealing to me how much country out there that is not controlled by Nashville and CMT, like a lot of Texas, it's like instead of Nashville country, it's Austin country.
Right.
And you mentioned a couple of these Longinas, the Hayes Carls, the Ryan Bingham, Steve Earle.
Oh, yeah.
Robert O'Keefe.
Yeah.
So that became my thing. And the most recent thing that I've listened to, the last 2 albums I bought were Morgan Wallen.
Okay.
And so I'll put those in. But I do have, I realized I forgot the one actual song that has some reference and meaning. And I skipped out on Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
What about Man Comes to Town?
Oh, yeah. When the Man Comes to Town.
Which has got some Book of Revelation and some living and dying and stuff like that. And so I might roll out with When the Man Comes to Town. Yeah. And then hopefully people will be around long enough for it to cycle back through. Right. And they're all not leaving by now, but maybe I'll even, like I mentioned earlier, maybe I'll, I don't know, have some Old Bay wings. I mean, if I'm also going to be, if I'm going to go this far, I might as well play in the menu.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
I don't know.
So little insight for the listeners out there. When Pigweed and I have a brew day, we often listen to some either bluegrass or outlaw country kind of music.
Yes, mostly.
Well, I always tell folks that my first love was rock and roll. Mm-hmm. My soulmate is jazz, and my midlife fling is country.
Very good. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, when I tell people I like jazz, they'll say, Miles Davis, that sort of thing, and that's not the kind of jazz that I really get into, because I like the more melodic types of jazz. Mm-hmm. So I like, Maynard Ferguson isn't really jazz, but Chuck Mangione, other kinds of more instrumental stuff where there's more of a melody. And when I listen to Miles Davis, I don't have the patience. You have the patience to sit there and think, this is deep, I want to understand it. Right. I don't. It's got to be relatively clear to me earlier. I don't.
But the thing about Miles is he never stopped evolving too. Yeah. So he was always. He never really invented a new sound, but he always made the new sound better.
Newer.
Always newer.
There you go.
So
we're hoping that these things aren't going to happen for at least 50 years.
This doesn't happen.
50 years. I'll be, wait a minute. I'll be 108 now. Make it 30.
I'm sticking with my 50.
All right. And I hope I get to hear your lists before you get to hear mine. All right. Cheers.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.